Another important step in the refugee process is the eligibility interview. Claimants should think about this step as a screening process. It's important to note that not everyone can make a refugee claim. You may be found ineligible to make a refugee claim for a number of reasons, and I will discuss them here. You are not eligible to make a refugee claim in Canada if you are recognized as a convention refugee by another country, which you can return to, if you were already granted protected person status in Canada, if you made a refugee claim in another country, if you are inadmissible on security grounds, criminality, or for committing any human rights violations, if you made a previous claim in Canada and were found to be not eligible, or if you were a failed refugee claimant in Canada, or if you abandoned or withdrew a previous refugee claim, or if you arrived at the Canadian-United States border, which I will discuss in a little bit more detail in this video. So, one of the conditions that may make a person ineligible is if they arrived at the Canadian and US border. This is because Canada has an agreement with the US, which is called the Safe Third Country Agreement. This agreement states that a refugee claim must be made in the first safe country that a foreign national making a claim arrives in. America is considered to be a safe country where a person can make that claim for the sake of the STCA agreement. This agreement was signed by the US and Canada in December 2002 and came into effect in December 2004. At this point, the US is the only other country designated as a safe third country by Canada. However, there are some important exceptions to take notice of. You will not be caught by this agreement if you have a family member in Canada. Canada does not consider cousins, for example, to fall under the family exception, so it's important to check the government website to see if you will fall under this exception. The family member also must have some sort of status in Canada, which is enumerated on the Canadian government website. Some examples are that they must be a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident in Canada, a protected person in Canada, a convention refugee, and the list goes on. Another exception under the STCA is if you are an unaccompanied minor, which is someone under the age of 18 and who is traveling without their guardian and does not have a spouse or common law partner in Canada or in the US. A third exception is if you hold a valid Canadian visa. It's important to view the government website, as mentioned before, to see if you fall under this exception to this STCA. Significantly, the Safe Third Country regime might be struck down altogether. In 2020, the STCA was struck down by the federal court because it was found to violate Section 7, the right to life, liberty, and security of the person. But in 2021, the Federal Court of Appeal overturned that decision, and now the decision is before the Supreme Court of Canada.